The Historic Grand Prix Cars Association, perhaps unusually for racing clubs, is entirely a members' association. So it's owned by the members and it's run for the benefit of the members. And the directors are elected on a regular basis. So we look after the pre-1966 Grand Prix cars, varying from front-engine cars and also rear-engined cars. And we organise races for them. We're not part of an international series of races. Each of our races are one-off, separate events. And that means we are less under the rules of the FIA than perhaps certain other series are. But nevertheless, we go out to the main circuits around Europe and indeed last year to South Africa. And we have grids of between 25 and 40 cars, and we have a great time together.
And tell me a little bit, you've got a very ambitious calendar set out for 2021. Tell me where you're going and what you're doing.
Well, the theoretical calendar starts off at Hockenheim in the beginning of May, then moves on to Dijon, Grand Prix L'Arche d'Or, and then to the historic French Grand Prix down at Port Ricard, and then back to Blighty with a bit of Brands Hatch. And then after Brands Hatch, to my recollection, we've got places to go to like the Silverstone Classic, our old perennial favourites like Zandvoort, Spa, Hockenheim, Nürburgring, and our autumn sojourn in the sun, this time at Jerez and Portimao. How many of those will actually take place, of course, is anybody's guess. Hockenheim already is in doubt because the British people are going to find it difficult to get there. But maybe our overseas competitors, of which we have quite a number, maybe they can get there. So we're at the moment planning to see whether they can. And if they can, then we'll support that event.
So the races are invitation only. And how many of your members are already in Europe then?
I would say about 20%, maybe a quarter of our members are overseas members. Most of them European, but some come in from as far away as West Coast America, Australia, just to come and race with us. It's great fun, and it's a privilege to have them racing with us.
Now, the cars are absolutely amazing. Now, Will, then you obviously run the cars and race them, and you're a director of the club. Tell us a little bit about the challenges faced by everyone this year.
Well, I seem to end up being facing every challenge that everybody has to face in that respect. So we've got the problems of transporting the cars, the carnets, the quarantining separately for the people working on the cars, and then we also have the problems of if a vaccination passport is coming in, the younger people won't have had the vaccine the same as the older people. Fortunately, in some ways for the HGPCA, our membership is a bit on the older side. So that therefore means, which is good in some ways, because they're all going to be vaccinated sooner rather than later. Whereas if we're in a young championship, where everybody was my age, the less percentage will be vaccinated, and if a vaccine passport comes in, obviously we won't have the options of going abroad. Another thing with having an older demographic, I suppose, is that a lot more of them are already retired, which means at least, hopefully, touch wood, they'll be a bit more financially stable during the current pandemic, and to be able to keep their cars running and look after them. With the carnets, will people be put off by the fact they have to do them? I'm not sure. Actually looking at the costings of them, it's more of a paperwork issue in some respects than a cost issue, although if you're just going to take your say £100,000 car out for one meeting at Spa, for example, which is a relatively short travel away, then it is a big cost on top of what you're already paying. But if you're going to do 6 events abroad and you're taking your £100,000 car out of the UK, then split between 6 events, I don't see that necessarily being a problem. But we also are going to have a bit of an issue with the HGPCA rather than the sports car racers, in that the one-man band person who looks after their own car and takes it themselves is always going to have a carnet.
Yeah, it's a real struggle there. And have you got any members that have, because some of them are a sort of slightly older generation, shall we say, have you got any members who've just decided to put it away for the year and shut up shop? Or?
Well, we had that problem last year more than this year. I think that last year everybody shut up shop. This year we're going to have the same problem, but nobody's making a decision yet, really. A lot of our members will be still planning, even though we're early March, to go to Monaco in 6-8 weeks' time. And whether that will happen or not is another matter. Some of the older people are also thinking, rather than the opposite of shutting up shop, they're now thinking, well, I'll have a vaccine and I've missed a year, and that year is a long time of my racing period. So that year that I've missed, I need to catch up on. And I've only got a certain finite time left to race in my life. I want to get back on with it as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm totally on that page. I would be doing the same, I think. I think that you make a really valid point that you've got a really ambitious calendar, but all of those events are within a 6-month period. So you only need one carnet, and you can come and go as you please with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't necessarily think that the carnet is as big an issue as we're worrying about. It's an issue for me as a preparer more than it is for Peter taking his own car abroad, because I need 10 different carnets and another carnet for all my spares, and if I take a different car in the truck with needs different spares or different tools, I need to change the carnet which has the tools on, and then I need to have a carnet for a scooter, and so it's a lot more of an issue for me, whereas Peter knows what he takes in his trailer and he's very fastidious about which bits he's got with him, and he can quite quickly look in his garage and go through everything that goes with this car. He puts it all on the same carnet as his car. He doesn't generally take any of his other cars abroad in a trailer, so he doesn't necessarily have too much of an issue. People like Peter's problem may be if he's taking other people's cars with him, which he sometimes helps other members out by transporting their cars.
And there are certainly some issues with carnets that we haven't yet fully bottomed out. So, for example, if you've got somebody who's resident in the United States who has a car domiciled in the UK and wants to race in Italy, then how does he apply to whom for his carnet?
Okay, so
and these sort of issues,
yeah,
you haven't quite bottomed out yet.
If his car is domiciled in the UK permanently, it won't have a carnet. If his car has been flown to the UK already and is temporarily in the UK but domiciled in the US, it will have a carnet already, and you can run off that same carnet to move into Europe and back again. So you wouldn't have to get another carnet. If it's in the UK permanently at the moment, then you need to apply for another carnet to move it out. But you have to prove that you technically own it in the UK, or you're meant to prove that you technically own it in the UK.
And I think it's a UK person who applies to the UK Chamber of Commerce. So if you're an American person, I don't think you can apply, or you may not be able to apply to a UK Chamber of Commerce, in which case somebody in the UK
has to do it for you.
But that person does it for them, technically has got to own the car.
Well, technically, say I'm doing it for a customer, I therefore take the risk. That's personally take, or the company or whoever's doing it takes the risk. Whereas if the customer does it for themselves, the risk is on them.
It's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? You mentioned Monaco, Will. As of the 18th of Feb, they released a press release saying it's all going ahead. So, and obviously the event is before we're allowed to leave the country. And I know normally there's lots of Brits go down, you guys, especially some of your club members. Do you know what's happening there? Are they going to go or...?
Well, we've checked with Motorsport UK and we can get exemptions for, because it's actually classed as an FIA international event. We had a lot of trouble at the back end of 2020 us deciding whether Spa 6-hour meeting and Zandvoort was going to be classed as international events. The thing for Monaco is you have to have an international licence to do it. So that is one of the barriers to the international elite sports person criteria, which was an issue for a lot of the events that the HGPCA were running at the back end of last year, because half of our members run on national licence. So for Spa 6 hours, even if it was classed as an international meeting, half the people wouldn't be able to get the exemption anyway. The problem with Monaco at the minute is that there is still potential of people travelling into France have to quarantine. So there may be a 7-day quarantine period that people can't get around just travelling into France, even if they are a sports person or they have dispensation. Then there's also the problems of EasyJet cancelled all the flights, so there's no current flights. British Airways aren't doing any flights down there, so you potentially have to drive or charter your own flight, obviously, is another option. But so therefore, it's just slowly getting harder, and the closer it comes, the almost less likely it is that people will be attending. But they've assured us that they will do refunds up to 2 days before if you don't turn up, and they will still want to run the event even if half of the people who are currently down to participate can't go. So we have to still be planning on going, really, and they're doing their best, really. That's all I can say.
Also, there's the quarantining upon return as well to the UK.
Yes, so obviously you need a PCR test before you return to the UK, but Monaco are actually putting that on, so you don't have to organise that yourself in Monaco to come home. The waiver, the international sports person waiver, allows the drivers, although they still need to quarantine in the house, you can, if you work in the motorsport, you can still do your job, and the mechanics can all do their job. But essentially everybody's quarantining already anyway, so at the moment, really, another week at home where you can still go to the gym if it's open, I don't think is going to affect too many of our older members who are retired anyway.
Oh, it sounds like a bit of a minefield. So have you got any, because you're a small club, have you got someone that you can point to for your club members to go to for advice?
Well, happily, one of our members is in the international logistics business, and he has offered his services and the services of some people within his company to help our members to get the carnet, get an appropriate carnet for them, and also help with the obtaining of the duty guarantee. That's quite a standard sort of procedure for UK members. But for our members who are living abroad and also may have cars abroad, and if they want to import those cars to the UK to run a UK event, then they need very specific advice depending upon individual countries within the EU where they live. So we do have a point of contact, happily, and we're now in the throes of telling our members more details on the carnet, guiding them through the process, and so that they will be aware of what to do, both for Monaco and also for our first international event as well. And
also, on top of that, not just the carnets, obviously we're the board of directors is always available for all our members for any other queries that might be going on at any one time, which includes all of the above that we've just discussed. So Peter's normally answering the phone, or Stella.
And Stella did mention that cunningly that you're not opening entries till the application to enter until a later date. So that actually helps, doesn't it, with the whole logistics?
That definitely helps. But we're obviously in a slightly different situation to other clubs, which need the funding in order to plan their year. We're trying to, because we have supply that we've built up over the years that of funds and things like that. We're not in the position that we need money in to be able to continue running. Whereas obviously, if you need money in to continue running as any business, then you're going to have to put out the entries, and you need to get the money in before you can carry on with your year.
And the other thing we're trying to do is to organise some backup UK races in case we can't go abroad. And we've just concluded that we will be participating in a race with the VSCC Spring Start meeting at Silverstone in April. So our members will be able to race their rear-engined Grand Prix cars with us and their front-engine Grand Prix cars in the Amstel Rothschild trophy race with the VSCC.